So AWS probably dropped one of the biggest updates that it has done with AWS Lambdas in the recent years, and that is AWS Lambda managed instances. This is an extremely interesting release, according to me, and it comes with its own quirks of good and bad. So I want to go through this blog. I want to talk about what I feel about this and how you can use this if you're using AWS Lambdas today in production. So for those of you who don't know what AWS Lambda is, it's basically a serverless compute infrastructure, right? So the servers are obviously there, but it's not something that you need to worry about. And AWS Lambda was, I'm sure, one of the pioneers in creating serverless stack as a serverless compute as a thing, because before that, everyone would probably want to have some sort of server or some sort of thing where you can provision it, then you can run it, then you will have compute, network, dedicated disk, and so on. But AWS Lambda changed that game. Now we have something known as AWS Lambda managed instances, which is a very interesting marriage between Lambda and EC2s. Right? So let's talk about it. Let's try to understand. So I'm going to jump to my whiteboard over here and I'm going to talk a little bit first about how Lambdas traditionally work, right? So let's say this is your computer, and let's say you are making an API request to a service, right? API request to a service deployed on Lambda. So what happens effectively, assuming that you are running Lambda on Node.js, let's say, what happens effectively is that AWS will take care of whole provisioning and everything, right? So it will create this Lambda instance, it'll create this, it'll spin up this Lambda instance, it'll run your code, and it'll get the response back to the user, right? So this is how typically AWS Lambda invocation looks like. Now, there are some very critical, very important things here that you should be aware about. The first thing is that this Lambda instance is never shared across requests, right? So for example, let's say if somebody else also comes into picture, and if this request is already in progress, it's in process, something is going on here, AWS will create a second Lambda instance, right? So it will not share this request with this Lambda itself. So there is no global scope sharing and things like that, which is something that we run into issues with Cloudflare workers and even like Vercel's new fluid model, right? So these instances or these invocations are pure, completely pure. They don't share context, but these Lambda instances themselves can be shared, right? So very critical, very important to understand that let's say if this request is over now and this response has gone, AWS will still keep around this Lambda instance, right? So if the request comes again, it can be served through to the same instance. Remember that you're not using a Lambda instance parallelly for two different requests, but you can use them once a request is over. This is how typical Lambda infra works. Right? This is the behavior, right? And you can obviously specify parameters on top of that, like maximum concurrency of lambdas, how many lambdas can spin up, and minimum provision concurrency of lambdas, how many lambdas do you want to stay around. Lambda can scale down all the way to 0 as well, and it can scale up to whatever your account limit is. A few more things to learn about Lambda before we are able to appreciate the new infra that they have released. It's the billing part, right? So it's built on requests, it's built on compute duration, and it's built on RAM, right? So it's sort of like compute duration only. So RAM and compute together, and for how long it has been provisioned and it's been running, plus request is what the billing model is. Now, what AWS has realized with Lambda managed instances is that you can probably use AWS Lambda-like developer experience, but for EC2s. So typically, an EC2, how it looks like, again, just to quickly talk about that, is that let's say you are a user and you are like an API managed by EC2, then it's just EC2, right? So it's just a computer which is running. So you have maybe like 32 vCPUs and maybe like 64 gigs of RAM and maybe a few more specs. But this is what it is, right? So if this fails, for example, if something crashes here, it's just gone. So you have to manage it on your own. There are solutions, obviously, like auto scaling, health checks. Then if you're using, for example, even if you're using like containerized solutions like Fargate and so on, so you can do sort of those things with EC2s, but it's not as convenient as Lambda. It's not on demand and it will not go down to 0, EC2 by default, at least, not a managed container service. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward and simple. And that is why a lot of workloads still prefer to use that in stable workloads. Lambda, on the other hand, has the benefit of, just having something which can be bursty in nature. So you can have multiple requests coming in and you can just try to use Lambda there. Now, what they have done is that now they have combined both of these infrastructures. So they have created a new primitive where they are saying that, okay, you as a user, request an API managed by managed lambdas, AWS Lambda managed instances, right? This on the surface as a developer, when you are programming it, it will behave like a Lambda, but it's actually running on EC2 instances, right? So it's spinning up these bunch of EC2 instances internally. For all we know, AWS internally, these Lambdas are running on EC2s inside Firecracker, right? So for all we know, this is like running on some compute already, right? Because obviously, how would it run? So this is part of like a bigger EC2 instance only, which is running a Lambda inside Firecracker. What they have done now is that they have given you, the customer, the ability to use your own AWS EC2 infrastructure for doing that. And of course, you don't have to do this. So AWS would manage these EC2 instances for you. It would scale up these instances. It would scale down these instances as the load comes and goes. But the underlying API for you as a developer would look and feel more like Lambda, ideally with the scaling as well, right? So the underlying scaling, for example, if you get a lot of traffic, AWS would automatically spin up all of these, and you don't have to worry about what is the endpoint, what is the DNS, what are these things. It'll just start to behave like an AWS Lambda, but it's running on your own provisioned EC2 infrastructure. What that means is that if you have like cost compute or cost savings, for example, this compute savings plans over here, this would be applied because technically it's running on your own AWS EC2 accounts, right? Now, in theory, this sounds great, but this comes with a few very problematic trade-offs, which might not make a lot of sense for everyone to use. First of all, you see that because AWS Lambda in this mode is not fully serverless, right? Because you see that in this case, Lambda is not, restricted on one request per Lambda, right? So obviously spinning up a whole machine and just serving one request from it at a given time would not make a lot of sense for you cost-wise as well. So in this case, AWS Lambda, this managed Lambda thing, do give you the opportunity that you can configure that, okay, multiple requests can go on this single sort of Lambda, right? Which is not a Lambda, it's an EC2. So first thing is this, that multiple such requests can go on a single machine, which could be a deal breaker given how your code is written. Second thing, which is slightly even more problematic because this is something that you can still account for, right? It is in your control at some capacity. But the other thing which is problematic is that what happens if your compute capacity is exhausted, right? And if you want to scale up rapidly. So rapid scale up is not possible, unlike Lambdas, right? So Lambdas have a very high throughput of scaling up, the OG Lambdas. But these Lambdas, because they are running on your own EC2 infrastructure, they will take some time to provision a new instance when the load increases, right? So this EC2 is getting created inside your own account. This means that it is technically possible, if your load is extremely bursty, that you might run into these 429 errors, too many requests. Look at this in their blog post. A capacity provider can absorb traffic spikes up to 50% without needing to scale by default, but the built-in circuit breakers protect your compute resources during extreme traffic surges by temporarily throttling the request with 429. So AWS is doing some sort of work here at this layer, that it's checking if we do not have more EC2 compute capacity to serve these requests, just throttle it. Okay thing for most people, because most workloads, at least like API and front-facing, customer-facing workloads, are not extremely bursty, right? They just gradually increase with time and they just decrease away. But it's definitely possible if you're doing something like a flash sale, or if you're doing something which, expects a sudden spike in traffic, then it would be slightly problematic, and you might have to handle it on your application layer itself, on the front end itself, where if your backend starts to return 429, you have to keep retrying, right? They do mention that the operational and architectural model remains serverless throughout this process. AWS handles provisioning, patching, all of that, right? Automatic scaling, upscale, downscale, all of those things. And now coming to the cost bit. So first of all, you see that the cost is yet again on request deliver. So that component does not change over here. But over here, the second part, which was always compute and RAM, that is no longer there, right? Per execution, obviously. So per execution, compute and RAM metrics are now gone. And whatever your EC2 cost is coming out to be, that is what you have to pay. Let me save you some math here and tell you that actually AWS Lambda gets extremely expensive at scale. So if you're spending like maybe a few $1,000s a month on AWS Lambda, chances are that if you can shift to this model and your workload is consistent, you will save a lot of money on this model, right? That is pretty much guaranteed, because the compute and RAM just spirals out of cost after a specific time. Even more so if you have things like AI workloads where, it's taking a lot more CPU time than just a lot more wall time than just CPU time, because that is the time that you are actually getting billed for on the OG Lambda instance, but not over here. Finally, what AWS says is that you also pay a compute management fee of 15% on the EC2 on-demand instance price to cover AWS operational management of your instances. So AWS is charging you the cost, like 15% of all these EC2 instances that you are creating and upscaling and downscaling, just for managing it on your behalf, right? I mean, technically speaking, you can create this infrastructure on your own. I mean, the primitives are all there. You can create like a single point which intercepts all the traffic, and then you upscale, downscale your instances accordingly. But again, like if you don't want to do all of that headache, just let AWS do that and give 15% of the cost to AWS. It's like, I mean, it's like a fair trade-off for just avoiding the complexity of building this on your own. And I'm pretty sure like there would be some people in the world who have done this stack on their own just to save on Lambda costs, and now they would probably be just able to shift to AWS directly, and they'll be able to get rid of a lot of bugs and their internal implementation magic that they had done. What I would be more interested in seeing is that if this also supports spot instances, because that would be very cool. They don't talk about this here, but if I can configure Lambda in a spot setting, I mean, that is like a pretty cool use case, right? Because if you can just run Lambda over spot EC2 instances for workloads which are like not really important, then I mean, I don't really think that there would be a lot of these workloads which are high volume but are not really important. But it would be interesting to see if that is possible. But yeah, this model is pretty similar to, I won't say it's very similar to what Vercel is doing with fluid compute. I covered that in one of the videos, but this is on those lines, right? AWS obviously still has no option of charging people just on CPU time, which is something that we would really appreciate, because now even Cloudflare has that and Vercel has that. And in the AI workload era, you need those pricing models on serverless stack. If AWS somehow decides to convert their Lambda model from wall time to CPU based time, that will probably result in a lot of revenue loss for AWS, but it will likely see a lot of gain in terms of usage on AWS Lambdas as well. But yeah, this is an interesting step. Do let me know in the comments what do you think about this, and if you use AWS Lambdas in your production workload. That is all for this video, and I will see you in the next one very soon.